Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. Well, it finally happened. We got absolutely smashed today with a snowstorm. It's still going on. I planned to do some shop work today, but that didn't work out. I was moving equipment around, and I've been having problems with my slip tank, friends, and so I drained it, and what I found was a 1/2 inch of ice. I thought I got all the water out. I don't know if you guys remember, but this summer I said I left the cap off in a rainstorm. I thought I got all the water out, but I ended up, there's a sheet of ice on the bottom. So I have it in the shop right now. I pulled the drain plug and it's dripping into a pan. And I made a fire, so I'll keep it warm in here tonight. And hopefully I'll get that back together tomorrow. 6 to 7 inches of snow on the driveway. And I'll definitely be doing snow clearing tomorrow. And need to get that new heater hooked up in my skid steer cab. The only problem is I have to disassemble the heater that's in there, and the heater that's in there has oil lines that come from the motor and go to it. I'm going to need to plug those before I do anything with the new heater, so I'm kind of at a standstill with that project, so I'll probably just turn the ball valve on and use the heater that's in there. That heater works, but I don't get enough heat out of it. It's just kind of there. It's a 13,000 BTU, I believe, is what it's rated at, but I don't get enough airflow out of that thing to keep the windows from fogging. Because if any of you have run a skid steer know, mine, the hydraulic pump is rated between your feet, and it melts the snow off your feet, and then it evaporates, and you end up with steam in there. So anyhow, friends, what are we doing today? Well, let's continue on the partner P42. I had somebody comment, they're like, when are you going to finish that thing? Well, sooner than later. I hope to get it done around Christmas, which may sound like forever, but these old saws, they take a lot of work, a lot of planning, because again, and yes, I have a spare cylinder, but parts are not readily available for these things. So you gotta kind of play it safe. Today's video, let's figure out what we're doing with the rest of the cylinder. I like to show you guys my thought patterns, good, bad, or indifferent. Because again, I've never done one of these before. I don't know everything, friends. I just know what I know. There's things I know and things I haven't had time to learn. So anyhow, I'm going to bring you guys in. Let's discuss my thoughts on what we've done now. Because I've added a boost port to this, that's going to potentially change how I do this cylinder. What do you guys think? I'll bring you guys in. Let's look at the cylinder again, and let's decide what we're doing. Okay, here's our cylinder. I'm going to get back on track here, friends. Sometimes life doesn't quite work out the way you want it to, if you guys know what I'm saying. Been busy lately with Christmas coming, the weather changing. It is what it is, right? I don't push the content, friends. I like my content to be organic. If I'm working in the shop, I turn the camera on. One thing I will mention, any of you guys that build saws, I'm sure you can appreciate this. When you film, everything takes longer. You know, setting up lights and setting up your camera and getting your shots and that, and putting your thoughts out on video. Just everything takes longer when you do it on video. But again, I enjoy sharing this stuff with you guys. So, okay, so let's backtrack a little bit on what I did to this piston. Again, you guys saw I made a new wrist pin for it. Okay, and you can barely see what I've done. You can see the weld a little bit there. Okay, welded a new wrist pin, and that is to block the boost port. Okay, right here. Okay, that's going to go on that side. That's going to block our boost port. Now, normally, I don't know your guys' thoughts on this. Normally, what happens is let's treat this like a 372. On a 372, I would cut this off, right? And I would go like this. Okay, and I would get rid of this whole section in here, friends. That's not a good marker. We need a better marker, don't we? That's an old one. Probably one I pulled out of my pocket from work years ago. Let's try this one. There we go. Okay. I'll just do this rough. I would cut that section out there, friends. Okay. You'd end up with here and here, and you cut this section out. All right, we all in agreement? That's what I do to 372s. It works great. It helps feed the lower transfers. But here's the thing on this one, friends. This is not like a 372. A 372, the wrist pin would be where the transfers are, like this. Okay. So when it's going round and round, the piston will be supported front and back. Right? On these, the wrist pin is sideways, and your front and back of your piston go here and here. So that puts it in my mind where maybe I shouldn't cut these away. One thing we can do right now, friends, and I'll set you guys back up here. Let's see. Let's just go through a whole stroke. Let's put the piston back in the bottom end. Let's see how far down does this piston go into the case, and then we can decide what we want to do. Okay, let's take this thing right here. Hey, look how easy that was this time. Remember last video? That was funny. Couldn't get that piston on to save my life. Okay, so this piston goes down pretty far, friends, right to the bottom by the looks of things. Okay, and as you can see, the transfers feed from here and from there. Now, the other thing that I can do is, I'll bring you guys in a little bit closer here so you can see. Here, I'll turn this sideways so you can really see it. The next thing I could do is, I could take and I could cut this away here, okay? I could cut this away to make it feed better, okay? Now, the best way to do that is to take the bottom end apart. I don't really want to do that in this case. This bottom end is very sound. The bearings look like brand new, so I don't really want to disturb this thing. I will if I have to, but... Okay, and right here, we could cut this away. Okay? But... And this is just more of a thought process when you're porting stuff. When you first start porting, you'll just want to get into it and you'll be like, I'm just going to start grinding. But honestly, friends, think about what you're doing and what the saw will allow you to do. The limitations of any saw is the design. Okay? That's why some saws port up better than others. You see some saws that absolutely rip no matter who ports them. And other saws, they're just kind of there, right, friends? Like that Super Pro 70 that I built for Bucking years ago. That thing, those are not known to be really strong. This is bothering me, friends. Let's see how much of a battle. This thing's broken off right in here. Oh, yeah, that's going to be... I'm probably going to have to weld a nut to there, friends. What do you guys think? Yep, that's probably what's going to happen. The mount, the rubber mount, the rubber's broken off and just the mount is left. Yeah, I'm going to have to weld a nut to there, I guarantee it. Anyhow, that Super Pro 70 that I built for Bucking years ago, I wasn't aware that those things aren't very strong. My buddy Caleb mailed me that saw. He's like, here, you want to build a Mac, build this one. So I graciously accepted it, and I went to town. Now that saw had like 60,000 squish out of the box, so I actually milled the bottom of it off, and being a clamshell, that's a lot of work, and then re-grooved the pockets so that the bearings would be squished just the right amount. That took me about 2 months to get that just right, friends, so that I could clamp it down with full force and not bind up the bearings. And as you can see, that saw is still running today. If I did that wrong, I would have blown that saw up right away. So Anyhow, the limitations of that saw were the design, but I figured out a way around it. And I mean, some guys are really good at that. You see their builds and you're like, wow, that thing really rips. And they're just smart. You know, they thought of an idea and they were able to execute it. So what I'm getting at here, friends, if I thin this section here, okay, it's not the thickest around right now. Okay, there's not a ton of meat there. So my two options are, if I am going to thin it a bunch, I need to put a gasket in here, but I don't really want to run a gasket on this saw. I find gaskets tend to blow out here and here. Okay, so you gotta be cautious of where you grind and all that kind of stuff. So I don't really want to run a thinner gasket. So I don't really want to trench these cases. The only thing I might do, friends, okay, where that boost port feeds, notice it's pretty much in line, okay, with the bore. So what I've done here is, I've had a bunch of questions about how does that work. Okay, friends, when I slide this back on, where the bottom of the boost port is, that will be fed right here around the case, because there's no case there, right? Because that was the original bore on the cylinder. So we're probably going to be just fine there. Now, the one thing about these cases, I could grind a little slot in there. The way that I do that, I'll take a sheet of paper, cut the circle for the bore out, and then I'll use my finger, okay, and I'll rub it, and I'll punch the first hole, and then I'll punch the other ones and cut out with a pen knife. I'll cut out all the ports, okay, and then what I do is I slide it over here, and I line up all the holes again, and I see if the ports line up. If this, say, is smaller, then I'll take my marker, okay, and I'll put it over top of that pattern I've made, and I'll mark it so that I know what to grind out. So the question is, friends, do I want to risk chewing this piston up? Because what will happen, couple things here, friends. Number one, this piston is fairly top heavy. I hope you guys enjoy these kind of videos. I like to describe what I'm experiencing. Okay, friends, this piston is, let's see, what do we got here? This is just going to be a rough measurement. Okay, 524 thousandths to the top. $579 thousandths to the bottom. So the bottom is slightly, just slightly, longer than the top. Here, and this is a 200T piston, okay? I'm just eyeballing it here, friends. Okay, the bottom is about 395, 400 thousandths. The top is almost 500 thousandths. These pistons are top heavy. And what happens with 200Ts, you can see the wear on it. This is a factory 200T piston. See how it's shiny there? Okay. This is the exhaust side. They'll usually get shiny on the intake side. That is just the way the forces work. Okay, it's going around. Okay, as it goes around, it tends to want to do this. And over time, it shines that up. And you'll end up, a lot of times when I get a 200T that doesn't run anymore, it'll break right here. It'll break the center because it gets so thin. Okay, this one's not horrible. You can see, though, it's all scored up. But because it's top heavy, it exacerbates the problem. So be aware of that. If you're going to cut material away in your cylinder, be very aware of what you're doing. What I'm saying here, friends, is if I cut, let's mark from the top here, okay, right here, so that you can eyeball it when I put the piston back in there. If I cut this away, okay, that black section there, and that's pretty much what I'm cutting away. If I cut that away and I stuff a piston in here, where is that piston? I'll use this one because this one will work fine. Okay, if I cut that away, okay, there's my piston in the bore. If I cut that away, my piston will not be supported for almost, well, let's see. I would say my piston will not be supported for, what, 35% of its bore? What do we got here? Let's just mark this. Okay, that's about 1.1 inches. Okay, and this is 1.86. So this thing will not be supported at the bottom for 60% of its bore, roughly. That's probably not... Well, here's the thing, friends. I could do that, and this thing would probably be an orangutan. But how long is it going to last? With this piston going around in there, it's going to start doing this. And I think... Now, it's not going in and out of an intake port. There's no bottom to that, right? There's no bottom here. If I cut it off, there won't be a bottom that it's going into versus a regular cylinder, and I'll grab one. Okay, this is a 372 cylinder. There's no bottom, right? Okay, where if the piston's going in and out, it'll rock and it'll start to catch that bottom and it'll wear itself out. So, it's almost the same, friends. You wouldn't make your intake super wide on this because, well, it's not good for the piston. Now, if you're building a race saw, have at her. You know, if you're willing to take the saw apart all the time. And you can see, friends, most of the wear in this cylinder is here, okay, and here. Because that's where the piston's really moving. So, the question is, friends, should I do it? That's why I haven't ground on this thing yet. I want to make it awesome. As awesome as I can. Okay, so think about it. I have this cut out, and I'll have from here to here cut out to feed it. And the reason why I want to do that is to feed these better. But I've already established that this piston goes down to the bottom of this cylinder. Okay, it goes down right to there. Just when I check the bore. Okay, so now there's a couple things we could do, friends. Options, okay? We do have options. I could take my right angle tool. You take my right angle tool, and I could punch a hole in here, okay? I could punch a hole in there like that, say, right dead center, and grind out a little square. Okay? Could grind out a little section like that. I then could go to my piston. I'll grab one that's old. I then could go to my piston and cut a window. Okay? I could do this, friends. Cut a window, which will help feed that transfer a little bit better. Okay, and I could do that on the other side. That would alleviate, okay, it would still be supported here and here and here and there. That would alleviate a lot of the stress on the piston going in and out of that giant opening. Because again, I don't want to grind these thinner because I'm worried about them leaking. Okay, because if I'm going to grind these, I'm going to really want to thin those up. And if you look, this is almost identical to the case for width. Okay, there's not, if you start grinding this too thin, which is what I'd have to do, look, friends, we wouldn't have a lot left to seal. So take that all into account. What do you guys think about this? Are you picking up what I'm throwing down? These things are really well designed. The 372 that we know and love, that owes its lineage to this. When the Husqvarna Group or Electrolux or whoever owned them at this time, when they bought this company and bought this, you know, the rights to make this, they applied this to their 372s. The 372 is pretty much exactly like this when you look inside, with the same transfers. That's what's funny, friends. Like, these things are hot rods. Okay, so like I said, I'm still in the thought process. I could cut a window in there, grind it out with my right angle tool to help them feed. I could cut this out. I could cut this out, maybe half of this, and thin it some, which is another option. Or I could leave it and just do my regular port work, friends. The upper transfers I like on this. I'm probably not going to do a ton of massaging to them. You can see there's that little step in there. I'm going to get rid of that. Right here. This sleeve, friends. Now, let me get my screwdriver. This cylinder, where it looks like it's pressed into here. There's a big step there. When the air's coming out, it hits, there it is, right there, friends. It hits that, okay? I don't want that, so I'm going to put my right angle tool in there, and I'm going to clean them up a little bit. And it's funny, when you look down in there, you can see a little bit of exhaust. It's kind of brown. There's a little bit of exhaust gas that's been bleeding back into there. That is a byproduct of short blowdown. You'll never see that on a long blowdown saw until they get worn out. But okay, friends, so all these little details make the difference. I'm going to bring you guys back out here and let's chat about what I'm going to do. Okay, friends, so next time I come to the shop, I'm going to do some grinding. I think I'm going to relieve these slightly, but maybe not as big as the transfers. Because like I said, 1.1 inches is a lot in a saw that has under a 2-inch bore. That'll be a lot for that piston to deal with. And then, like I said, I'm going to hit these upper transfers. They're probably going to get raised about 1 degree. Blowdown is 20 degrees right now. They'll probably be 19 degrees. Now, that leaves the exhaust port. What am I going to do to the exhaust port, friends? I'm probably not going to widen it at all. I like the width of this exhaust port. I think it's plenty wide. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to raise this exhaust to like 98, friends. I'm going to go all out on this saw. It's at 103 right now, so you heard it. I'm going to raise this thing 5 degrees. So when I'm done, my transfers will be at 123 and my exhaust will be at 98. And then once I grind the transfers, they'll be up in probably 1 degree higher, friends. So right there, my transfers will be at 124. No, sorry, 122, friends. So we'll have about 24 degrees of blowdown on this saw with a boost port, a 98 exhaust roof, and fully flowed transfers. And then, friends, the last thing I'm going to do on this one, because you guys have asked me a million times, what do you do to those home lights to keep them alive? I ported one, it got hot, it blew up. I'm going to show you how I keep these saws alive with one more set of piston mods that I don't do to every saw, but I do it to saws that I'm worried about heat dissipation. Saws like this. Now, friends, this saw has a lot of fins on it. I'm not as worried about this as a home light, but I'm going to do it anyways. It can't hurt. It can only help. We'll talk about that when we're ready. Anyhow, friends, think about your builds. Look at the insides of the saw. Look at how the transfers are. Look at where the piston is rubbed the cylinder so that you can see where you might be able to make improvements. Look at the inside of those transfers. These transfers right now are hitting a slight wall and they're going down. Okay? That affects airflow. That affects performance right there. If I can grind that little lip out, and I think I'll be able to, as long as I can get my right angle tool in there, if I can grind that lip out, it will dramatically increase how these transfers flow. So, and again, with a high exhaust roof, friends, I find these vintage saws, they react well, some of them, to a high exhaust roof. Pick your poison though, friends. This saw is going to have to be sharp, but these are torque monsters already. If it has torque already, I'm not worried about losing a little bit of torque with a high exhaust roof. You guys following me? So, anyhow, friends, thanks for hanging out. Sorry we're not grinding today, but that's just the way the cookie crumbled. I'll jump in here this week, and we'll start finishing the cylinder. We'll mod the piston some more, and then we can start putting this thing back together. Oh, and I'll probably have to do a video, friends. I'm going to have to extract that mount. Good thing I have more in my NOS parts, but yeah, that mount's going to be a problem because it's stuck in there good and I can't get anything in there. So I'll do a video on how to extract a mount. Anyhow, friends, thanks for watching. Take her easy. Post a comment below. Are you following what I'm saying? Do you disagree with me? Do you think I'm overemphasizing how much support this piston needs? Let me know what you guys think. I'm always interested. Thanks for watching. Take her easy. Later.